Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing another haul in retrospect. This is a video that I do going over the products that I purchased this time last year and talk to you about whether it was a good spend, a bad spend, whether I still love the product, how we still feel about the products, because we sometimes purchase these things and then we're regretful that we've purchased these things. So I love doing these. You guys seem to also love watching these. So I want to make sure that I come back to you and review all the products that I did bring into my collection. This is a way that I make sure that I do that. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a field leader for Ulta Beauty. I get a lot of education in my position. I'd like to bring you that education here. But ultimately, I'm just out here talking about makeup because I like to talk about makeup. And today, we're going to talk about some makeup. So let's just dig in. So today, we're going to be going over the things that I hauled in last September. And I am a little bit confused because I know that some of these things on this list that I went over in that video, and this is the thumbnail right here so that you guys can go search it and find it, but I will also have it linked up here in the cards somewhere. I hauled in the Sydney Grace Christmas and July sale. Those things came in August at the very latest. So I don't know why I held back and waited until September to haul them in with you, but we're going to be going over them nonetheless. It's been a trivial morning for me, to be honest, because my camera wasn't connecting to my monitor, and that was super frustrating. And then when I finally did get it connected, it wasn't recording. This is like the third time I've tried to record this, so fingers crossed that it's going to work for us. This is the Mel Thompson collab with Sydney Grace. I feel like I was probably the last person on the planet to get this collab in my hot hands, to be honest. But that's okay. I'm really glad that I was able to get it. I know for a long time it just wasn't something that you could get. And then I think, unfortunately, Mel is no longer with us. And I think that they brought out this and her collaboration around the perfect Sydney Grace shadows for a Natasha Denona palette, which is something that I just purchased also in the last Sydney Grace Christmas and July sale after her death, with proceeds going to her family, or a portion of the proceeds going to her family. So I'm really just glad I was able to pick it up. This is what the color story in the palette looks like, and it is a perfection kind of color story. There's a little bit of everything in here. I really feel like it's a great fall palette. It's a great spring palette. It's a great summer palette. You get a little bit of all the seasons in this palette, and some really great shades that are surprises. That is a duochrome scarab. It's one of those like shifty red, brown, green kind of shades. And it is the only shade in the palette that isn't a new shade that was created with Mel in this palette. I am just super happy to have this palette in my collection. It's also a palette that I have a palette roulette on. So I will link that palette roulette up in the cards for you guys as well. I love Sydney Grace shadows. They just blend super smooth. They're really, really great mattes. Their shimmers are super impactful. I think it was with that palette that I also picked up a single eyeshadow. So they do this one day every year for Christmas and July, where if you spend a certain amount of money, you get it duplicated in free product. So I cannot remember what it was that I got. I want to say it's 60 for 60 or something like that, but I did pick up a single shadow also. This is in the shade Twisted Shifter. And typically in the new product, you never get like those duochrome shades. I did pick up this one because it is a duochrome shade. And I mean, it is a stunning like green to purple shadow. And I use it all the time. It is just a single. I do use all the time, and it is in rotation in one of my single eyeshadow palettes. So with that purchase, and I think that might have been the last day of the sale, I cannot remember, but with that purchase I did get you know, some free product. And some of that free product was single shadows. I think that's all I got free. And I will tell you that I do have some single shadows, like a crazy amount of single shadows. And most of the single shadows that you see in my collection are Sydney Grace single shadows. And this isn't it. I also have some in this Adept palette that I have right here. Almost all of these in this palette are also Sydney Grace. So I just have a ton of Sydney Grace eyeshadows, and a lot of them came through this Christmas and July sale process, to be honest, because a lot of the free product that you get when you buy and then get free is going to be the Sydney Grace single shadows, which I'm okay with because I love Sydney Grace eyeshadows. Like I said, they're super blendable, really, really pigmented, beautiful shimmers, beautiful metallics, gorgeous multi-chromes, this duochrome, really beautiful. There was another day during that sale that I shopped, and it was buy a mystery bag, get a mystery bag. So I did get 2 mystery bags, and in those mystery bags I got an equal amount of, well, I got 1 per bag. Liquid lips, liquid eyeshadows, a highlight, like single pan, and a brush. So these are the 2 brushes that I got in that, and the way I can tell them different from the ones that I got this year that I purchased is that these have pointed ends, whereas the ones that I got this year did not. So I ended up getting this brush, which is a big, beautiful, fluffy brush that is so, so soft and I love using for bronzer. And then I also got this one, which is just an angled brush that I use for blush. I love these brushes. They are so soft and beautiful, to the extent that I ended up this year in the Sydney Grace sale, which you guys should have seen my haul on, picking up the entire Sydney Grace brush set. So then we go to the liquid eyeshadows that I got, in that their liquid eyeshadows or cream eyeshadows come in this kind of like tube format. I do like both of these, but I feel like they were a little bit redundant, and I should have given one away because they look very, very similar. So I have Stolen Kiss, kind of like a little bit of a peachy gold moment. And then I have Boardwalk, and that one is also a peachy gold moment, but I think it is a lighter peachy gold moment. So with their mystery bags, you can get light, medium, or deep, and I think I got medium and deep. One of these is for medium, and one of them is for deep skin tones, and I just think that they're too similar. But one thing that I do love about the Sydney Grace cream eyeshadows is that when they're good, now when I received these, I had just gotten done decluttering my liquid eyeshadows, and my Sydney Grace liquid eyeshadows went at that point in time because they were older. I think they were around 4 years old at that point in time, and they moved and they creased, and it was not a fun time trying to wear them. But these, for the most part, once you get them on, it's not going anywhere. It just stays in that spot that I put it into. I think that they are beautiful and impactful, but I don't think I needed both of these, so I could have given one of them away. And like I said, one came in a mystery bag and one came in the bag that I purchased, so not a big deal that I kept both of them, but I should have given one of them away. They're too similar. These were also part of those mystery bags. One came in one came in the other. These are in the shades Peyton and Tracy. Peyton is a little bit more peachy, I guess, than Tracy, and Tracy is a little bit more deep than Peyton. One's a little bit more mauve than the other. One's a little bit more, I guess, brown than the other. So we have Peyton up here, and this one is Tracy. What I would say about their liquid lips is, first and foremost, liquid lipsticks are not something that I wear all the time, but also these ones specifically don't dry down 100%, so they're going to stay a little bit malleable, movable, and tacky. And, you know, for me, who is a person who wears like a lip liner and a gloss over the top of that. I don't really love a super pigmented, super impactful like lipstick to be one that travels all over my face. So I do think that I could get more use out of these if they were a little bit thinner of a formula and were more like a gloss in nature than these are. These are just too pigmented, and I find that I don't reach for them very often. And then I also got 2 highlighters. So I did get this highlighter here, which is called Deep Devotion. And it is kind of like a taupey color. I think that that's probably the most appropriate way to describe it. And as you can see, that is far too deep of a highlighter for my face. So I do use it a lot, but I use it as an eyeshadow. And I mean, the pan is super huge for an eyeshadow, right? And then the other one is this one, which is called Velvet Gold. And it is kind of like this buttery gold color that I wish I used more, if I'm honest. But that one is so icy though, and I think that that is what keeps me from using it as a highlight. I do like gold highlight on myself, but this one is so stark that I have a hard time with it. So those are all the products that I purchased from Sydney Grace at the time. I think that I did get a really good deal on the products that I got from Sydney Grace, and I don't have any regrets for the purchases that I made from Sydney Grace. But I do think that in the grand scheme of things, am I getting my money's worth out of the products? Maybe not. Especially those like lip products. I definitely think I've used each one of them maybe twice. So of all the things that if I could take it back, I would, it would be these 2 lip products. But if I took those 2 lip products back, then I wouldn't have gotten the rest, right? Because it all came in mystery bags. But other than that, super happy with the purchases that I made from Sydney Grace that year. It was all products that came to me that I didn't have, I don't think, except for, of course, the single eyeshadows and the liquid eyeshadows. So at that same time, maybe it was launched in September but peaked in August, I cannot remember, Natasha Denona came out with her My Dream collection. And I did pick up the entire collection, and I don't think I have any regrets. This is the face palette, and you can see it has 2 highlights and a blush. One of these highlights is a cream highlight, and the other one is a powder highlight, and then this blush is kind of like a cream to powder hybrid. I love this palette, and I think that if you look close enough, you can see the mess that this palette is, because I just use it so dang much. So that's definitely a product that gets its full money's worth in my collection. Secondarily to that was the palette, which looks like this. And this is the Color Story. And I have to be honest, I love this Color Story. I love this palette. I think it is beautiful. I haven't done a palette roulette on this palette yet, so I definitely need to get that done. But I did use it in a video where, you know, when this launched, like a introduction to this launch video, like a get ready with me or a testing out this launch video that I did on my channel. I'll also link that in the cards for you. So I have used it, but not as much as I could have. And then 3 lip products. I love the Natasha Denona formula for her lip liners. They're so creamy. They don't kind of meander anywhere, and they stay really well in place for a great period of time. The lipstick also super creamy. Love the lipstick. I thought that it was beautiful, and it is a pretty decent color of nudie pink for my skin tone, which I don't typically 100% love. The gloss for me was a different story. So this gloss I felt like was a little bit too peachy to go over the top of this lip color. It did something to the coloring of the lip color, made it a little bit less attractive in my humble opinion, but I do love the lipstick and the lip liner together, and I love the lip liner with the gloss. I just don't like the combination of the three together. And truth be told, this isn't my favorite gloss formula, so I'm not 100% that I would purchase another Natasha Denona gloss. I felt like it was just a little bit too sticky and really thick. Like, it surprised me at how thick it felt and how heavy it felt on my lips, which I don't really experience with a lot of other glosses. Really beautiful set, really happy to have purchased that entire collection. So then I did, of course, some purchasing at Sephora and Ulta also. So going with what I purchased at Sephora first, I did end up getting the Melt Gemini and Gemini 2 palette. These were like part of what was my husband's birthday present to me, and I'm so excited to have these. I have a palette roulette utilizing these two palettes together in one in the palette roulette time frame, so I didn't like try and separate them and use them as one separate palette. I do think that these probably could work separately as a standalone palette, but I do think that they work best together. One has a little bit more green in it, one has a little bit more rose in it, and no regrets on these palettes. I actually feel like the Gemini 2 was a palette formulation by Melt better than I have seen any other palette formulations by Melt, so just putting that out there. I also purchased a Melt bronzer. This one was in the shade Santa Cruz. I think that you guys can see this is a really, really deep bronzer. What was I thinking? So this bronzer hasn't gotten a whole hell of a lot of use in my collection because it is so deep. Now I can sheer it out, but it is so difficult for me to work with because of how deep it is. I don't know exactly what I was thinking when I picked up this color, but that would be my first purchase regret from last year. I also picked up a Dior blush. This is the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow, and I did pick this up from Sephora because this was before Dior came to Ulta, and I think that that is the only part of this blush that I truly regret, is not waiting until this came to Ulta. What I will say is, even though this does not show up very well on my hand as a swatch, this is a beautiful blush. I remember saying when I first brought it in that I wish it was more this shade than it was this one that it shows up in on the inside, because this is like so stark that even though there's no lights on in here and the window shade is closed, it still is fluorescent enough that I have to turn it to the side so that you guys can see it and it doesn't wash out the color. I think that you can probably see, if I turn it just right, maybe, just how much I've used this blush. Like, all of the stamps across it that say Dior, 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 they're gone. I use this blush so much. I love it so much. So definitely not a regret purchase. I purchased one of the Makeup by Mario lip glow, what are these called? Plumping glow glosses. And this is one of those kind of lip glosses that if you push it up too far, you can't get it back down, right? But this has become my purse gloss, and I'm actually surprised it's still going because it's been in my purse for so long, but it's still going. There's still a ton of product in there from everything that I can tell. I mean, it does have that circle at the top, which tells me that maybe we're starting to see the end game of this gloss, but I love that gloss. It's got a really nice plumping feel to it without hurting like the lip injections do, and it just makes your lips look so pretty. I don't know what kind of magic is in it, but it is a beautiful gloss. And then last from Sephora, I picked up the Danessa Myricks Experience palette. Now, I picked up this palette because there was no way in hell I was spending $125 on the big one, but I would spend $85 on the little one. That doesn't make any sense, does it, y'all? But I will tell you, while I don't think that these are the best multi-chromes that I've ever tried, I do think that these are the best multi-chromes that you can buy on the mainstream market, meaning these are the most accessible to the mainstream consumer. Now, I do have like a ton of multi-chromes from Cleona, and I do think that those are better and have more like shiftiness to them, but these are beautiful. And I am so, so happy to have this palette in my collection. I also have a palette roulette with this palette. So then the rest came from Ulta Beauty, and you know, I think that there are some hits and some misses here. Let's start with a miss. This is a palette purchase that I regret. I don't know that I loved this palette as much as everybody else proclaimed it was amazing. I honestly did not think it was all that amazing. I experienced a ton of fallout with this palette. I experienced patchy mattes, which is not something I've experienced with Tarte in the past. Like, some of my favorite palettes are by Tarte, but when I think of those favorite palettes, they're very neutral, very skin tone almost. So maybe I'm just not noticing the patchiness. But Tarte has always had a really buttery formula, in my humble opinion, and this just wasn't it for me. The black was not a great black, but also it's very confusing because there's three different formulas of shimmer in this palette. But there's either shimmers that have a stamp on them or shimmers that don't. There's no like real rhyme or reason as to why a shimmer has a stamp on it. I don't know. I just did not have the best time with this palette. So, they just launched another one, and I knew right away I wasn't picking it up because I didn't really experience what everybody else on the planet had experienced with this palette. And this wasn't cheap. It was like $52. So I do regret that purchase. I hold on to it because, it's not a horrible palette. It still functions and I can make almost anything work, to be honest. But it's just not one of my favorites. And if I'm going to pull for like a fall tone eyeshadow palette, that's probably going to be the last one that I think about. The other regret that I have is this. So I got myself really wrapped up in this whole lip bond thing. Like, Urban Decay came out with lip balms about that time, and they are a liquid lipstick that absolutely goes nowhere. You have to shake it up really, really good, right? And then once you put it on, it's supposed to like remain shiny and beautiful, but go nowhere. And I find that it does remain shiny and beautiful, and that it does not go anywhere, indeed. But I picked up this one and a peachy shade for a giveaway that I was running, because I do a giveaway every September for my birthday and anniversary on YouTube, gift to you. And I put the peachy one in the giveaway and kept this one. This one's shade is Once Strangers, and it's like this, brownish red color. Have you ever seen me wear this color of lipstick? Never. Like, literally never. Tell me why. Tell me why I kept this. Tell me why this was one I purchased. I will tell you why this is one I purchased. Because they had two shades of this when I purchased these. This one and the one that I put into the giveaway box. The one I put into the giveaway box, I tried the tester at the store and I knew it was going to look like concealer lips on me. This one didn't have a tester. So I kept this one, gave the peachy one away, and now I wish I had just given this one away too, because I've never, nor will I ever. It's like poop brown. I will never wear that. I think I've worn it once and decided it was just not for me. So the other 4 things that I purchased were, I believe, during the 21 Days of Beauty sale that were going on during September. I know these specifically were. These are the MAC Glow Play blushes, and I have Blush Please and Heat Index. And y'all, these I was kind of terrified actually to try because they look pretty gross. The formula of them is like a putty consistency. So like when you put your finger in there, you can see right away that you have put your finger into this product. It is just such a beautiful blush product that goes on so easily, melts into your skin. And I mean, just look at the pigmentation. Even this one, which is more of a like my skin but better shade, has a really beautiful pigmentation to it. And I don't know if you guys can see in those swatches, but they just melt into your skin and become one. And I think that that is because of the formulation of them. Now, in addition to that, when I was walking around the store with these swatches on my hands, I tried to wipe them off at one point after they had dried down, and they literally would not go anywhere. They lasted forever on my skin. Now this heat index one I wear so much, surprisingly. I mean, it is like a hot coral orange and I just love it. But I also wear this one equally as much when I just want a no makeup and makeup kind of day. Another blush that I picked up was the Kiss of Rose bronzer shade by Bare Minerals. It's just this really beautiful rosy, honestly kind of coppery look to it. And I think the kind of coppery comes from the fact that it is called like a bronzer. So it's supposed to be this like blush bronzer hybrid. I would challenge that because I by no means think that this is a blush slash bronzer, but I do think that it's got a really nice sheeniness to it. Not micro glitter, not, you know, glittery shine, but sheeniness to it. That it is more of a like blush highlighter hybrid. I know that when I wear these, I by no means skip the bronzer process in my makeup routine, but I do often skip the highlighting process. And I feel that way about my Kiss of Copper as well. So this was the second one that I had purchased, I do believe. Super happy with that purchase. And then the last thing is this, which is Benefit Butterfly. This is a really beautiful orange blush by Benefit that I love so dang much. And I think that you guys can see that part of the stamp inside that says butterfly is worn away, and it's just because I love this blush so much. I use it a lot. That's crazy orange, right? But so pretty. And again, it's just got this really beautiful like sheeniness to it that I don't feel like you have to wear any kind of like highlighter with it because it just looks healthy on the cheeks. I went through a period last year where I was buying all the crazy colored blushes. I especially love it for like blush draping where it goes like up to the eyeshadow that I'm wearing on a like sunsetty eye. Oh my gosh, so pretty. But anyways, those are the products that I purchased at Ulta. Of all the products that I purchased, there are only 3 of them that I really regret purchasing. With that said, they're really expensive. Like this palette was like $52, I think. This bronzer was like $40. This was like 20 something, right? So really expensive products. I could have saved my money and been $100 richer, but at the end of the day, like spend your money because you can't take it with you. I'm just saying. But I had a ton of products that I really loved bringing into my collection and still love using to this day. I think even this one, I'm doing another all about those blushes or all about my blushes video because I haven't done one in a while. And I think that this one was the one that I put on the list for Sparks Joy. It really, I mean, every single time I put this bright orange on, it sparks joy. So with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I hope that you liked me enough that you're considering joining my YouTube fam here. I would appreciate having you along for my crazy ride. But ultimately, as I said, I'm just out here talking about makeup, and if you enjoy talking about makeup as well, I'm sure that you can find content on this channel that soothes your soul like it soothes mine. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best you can. And until next time, bye friends.